My favourite story in the Bible is in John 4, and it describes this woman who was an outcast of society. She'd been sleeping around, she'd made an absolute mess, and she couldn't get back to where she was. She was getting in the way of herself, and she was at a well in the height of the day. Like, it just culturally, it just wouldn't have happened that way unless you didn't want to be seen by people because of your shame. And Jesus was there with her, and she didn't know who he was. Culturally, again, like, he's this Jewish guy, she's this woman, that they just wouldn't have spoken. And he crossed every barrier to get to her, like racial, cultural, gender, everything, just to get to her heart. She's at the well, like, she thinks her need is water in that moment. He says to her at the end that basically he's what she's been looking for. She's been trying to fill her life with all these guys. And I love the scripture because right at the end of it, it says she drops her jar and she runs to tell everyone about him. We can all have a need. And I think I so relate to that scripture, which is why it's my favorite, because I was that woman. Like, I'd made such a mess of my life. I was getting in the way of myself. I didn't want to be seen and known by people because I had so much shame that I was carrying. And the more that I felt I was around like good Christian people, the more I felt exposed and I didn't want to be known. But Jesus met me and he crossed everything to get to me. Like, when I met with him, he showed me what my real need was, which was his love and his acceptance and identity in him. And so my jar that I was carrying was like need, like I had this bottomless pit of a need for approval and words of affirmation. It was like nothing was ever enough because I wasn't receiving it for myself. And I was that woman, that was my jar, and I think we all have a jar. There's this like response that she has, and then a responsibility that she has, and the response is to drop everything and just receive his love. And the responsibility is then to go and tell everyone about the goodness of him. And that was my response. I so relate to her. Like, my response was to receive that he is enough affirmation for me. He like lavishes on it every day. And then my responsibility is like, I just want to tell everyone about it because it changed my life.